Hey, what's up everybody? It's been a while. I'm really happy to be making some videos again, and I wanted to get back into it with some track breakdowns. I've had a bunch of people ask over the years about doing kind of deep dives on my Ableton projects. And so I wanted to start this off with Interstellar. It's a collab I did with Darkmind back in 2018 or 2019. And this one's really cool because it's super simple, but I think it came together in this nice, spacious mix that I think it'll be interesting to break down. So if you guys have any requests of any of my songs I've done over the years, I'll do my best to try to dive into my old Ableton projects and do a track breakdown for those as well. So in the comments, or you could DM me on Instagram if there's any requests that you have. I'm happy to do them. But yeah, let's just get right into it. We're gonna go into Ableton and just kind of take a look at how the song was made. Here's what Darkmind sent me originally. Some piano. I love the dustiness, the noise in the background. I thought it was really cool. So I took this, there's a little bit going on here effects wise, but one of the main things that I think worked really well with this piano was messing with the stereo field here. So you can see right at the beginning, let me pull up my automation. So right at the beginning, you can see this is a plugin called Midside Matrix. I believe it's free and it's by GoodHertz. I absolutely love this plugin. But you can see at the beginning, I've narrowed the stereo image a little bit. And what that does is it just creates this smaller space. It feels sort of like a beginning or like a look kind of back in time. It just has this kind of compressed feeling to it. And then right when I bring everything in, here's some automation. It's gonna bring the sides up to the mids. So right away, you just get that width. And when you hear it in context, here's this. Right. So it just brings in the width of the track. It adds a little more of that movement, and it's those subtle things like that when you're not working with a bunch of different audio tracks, these subtle things make a huge difference in the overall feel of the song. Effects wise, there's not a whole lot going on here. We just got some simple EQ. I love this SSL channel, by the way. This is Waves, but I use a Brainworks audio one nowadays. But yeah, just literally simple filtering. I don't even know if I EQ'd it. Doesn't even look like it. So really nothing crazy here. Echo Boy is at the end, so you don't need to worry about that. That's the piano. We added a little piano melody here. Think of it like a call and response. Basically, you get these notes from Darkmind. So just sort of little sparkles on top. And again, you want to make sure that these two parts aren't occupying the same frequency range. So I wouldn't add another piano in the same frequency range as this Darkmind piano. You lose it completely. So that's another thing is mixing with your composition. Don't put too many things in the same frequency range because you're just going to lose it. And that's just the pianos. So pianos don't really change much throughout the song. Getting into the drums, this is where it's kind of fun. So little story about the drums. So Darkmind had sent me this and I actually don't know where he lives, but it was maybe 10 or 11 p.m. for me. So I'm sitting in bed when I got this. I'm on my laptop, headphones on. And he sent me this. I put together this little drum kit. And I was just kind of playing with it, on the computer keys. And what's funny is the swing that I got was just because I was playing it on these computer keys. There wasn't actually any there wasn't any like velocity. I had to go in and add that afterwards. But here's what the drums sound like soloed. Real like janky, disjointed feeling drums like in retrospect, but it works really well. There's nothing processing wise really going on here. Again, SSL is just like simple EQ. Again, like some EQ here. It's all about sample choice, to be honest. Anyway, so here's the drums. Again, dead simple throughout the whole song. Here they are in context. Right, so you get the feel for it. The guitars are probably the signature of the song. And if you listen to them together, they I don't know. I was listening to this earlier today. I was like, these sound kind of weird, but check it out. So the reason this sounds so bad is because you're just getting the dry signal. It's panned hard left. There's nothing really going on here. You got a little EQ that's doing pretty much just bringing out the lows. And that's it on the dry channel. This wet channel is an exact duplicate of the dry channel, but I've panned it to the right, and then I set the output to sends only. So what that's getting is the reverb treatment on the right. So if you check this out, I've panned that reverb send to the right, and here's what that sounds like on its own. And the reason we're getting that nice little breakup there is because if you listen to this wet channel, let me turn off the verb, make this go out the mains. So I've just absolutely crushed it with Isotope Trash. I was using this a lot back in the day because it has some really cool convolution effects. I won't go too into it right now. I think it's broken anyway. But it has some cool convolution effects. I think it's worth checking out. But I really just smashed this with distortion, kind of like this overdrive. And then when you send it out to a reverb by itself, let me go sends only on this. When you send it out to a reverb by itself, you are getting, it adds a little bit of like high harmonics, makes it stand out in the mix really well. So when you hear this all together, it doesn't sound like much with just the dry signal, but here's all the guitars together. You're getting that real direct sound of the DI guitar on the left, and then on the right, you're getting this spacious sort of wash of reverb guitar. And when you hear that in context with everything, see that direct signal helps you hear those individual notes, and then that wet signal on the right just adds that kind of spaciousness. And when you don't have a whole lot of tracks going on in the whole mix, things like that make a huge difference. You can be pretty heavy-handed with these effects, like completely dry, hard left, completely wet, far right. And when you combine this stuff, it really sings because there's not a whole lot going on. The bass is, I mean, there's nothing on it. Bass is super simple. Here's what it sounds like. Kind of missed the first bar. So anyone could make this. It's a saw wave with a low pass filter on it. That's the bass. When you hear let's do like drums and bass. Again, I also played this bass on the computer keys. I believe I did most of the actual creation of this song on the computer keys, and then the next day I went and recorded the guitar. So believe it or not, that's the song. Like it's really that simple. I didn't look at these piano melodies that much because it's pretty self-explanatory. So just left and right pianos are playing a slightly different melody, but when you actually play the whole thing together, I'll go from here. There's sort of a B section with the guitars too. Of course you got the melody, but there's a B section here for about 4 bars where I'm just playing like root notes. Yeah, it's just like messy, but if you leave that mess in, it adds a lot of character. So that's the B section, just bum, bum. And then we go back to that. Conceptually though, I think the big takeaway here is when you start with say some chords like this. When I hear these chords, I hear some low mids, I hear a lot of high frequencies, and I hear a lot of width. So what that tells me is, imagine this is your canvas and you actually need to start layering stuff that fits into this canvas. It's got a lot of low end already. It's got a lot of width and a lot of like high noise. So the stuff that I create needs to fit into this mix-wise. So check this out. If we pull up a spectrum, just kind of look at what we have in this piano. So I'm gonna look at this and be like, okay, I probably shouldn't add too much in that like 100 to 500 hertz range. It's just gonna get muddy really fast. So I'm thinking I can add maybe some higher pianos. It's not gonna muddy up the mix too much. I can add a really simple bass down here, like around 50, 60, 70 hertz. I don't want it to have too much in this low mids area. And then drums wise, I can actually afford to have some high end in the drums because there's a lot of space up here. But once you have these spaces occupied, there's not much of a need to add other stuff. And there's a lot of ways to think about that, but I think you need to notice, you really need to notice what tracks you're working with and strategically add tracks on top of it. And a great way to put that into practice is sit down with a loop. It's like 4 bars, 8 bars, and start layering on top of it. Add like guitar, drums, bass, synths, more guitars, and then just start aggressively cutting them out. Like get rid of this guitar, get rid of that guitar. Maybe you only need 1 guitar, 1 bass. Make those tough decisions and let each instrument like kind of tell its own story. Like let each instrument sit by itself, and just go from there. Like less is really more with a lot of these songs. I think Kenny Beats, no, maybe it was The Count. Yeah, The Count said one time, he's a producer. If you don't know about him, he's an amazing beat maker, and he's had a couple of like big placements too. But he said all the placements he's ever got, it was probably like four tracks in Ableton, you know, like drums, bass, keys, synth. Like it doesn't take that much to make a full sounding mix. And honestly, the less you do, sometimes the fuller the mix you get. And we'll look at some of my more complicated mixes. Maybe in a couple episodes here, I'll show you some like really complicated mixes. And honestly, like I don't know that they're much better than this mix that I did, you know, back in like 2018. On my laptop. Like you can get really technical and sometimes it just gets worse. But I'm gonna leave you with that. Here's the song kind of as it is. This is again, I dug this off my old hard drive, and this is exactly as I left that Ableton file. On the main, I have Decapitator, which is an excellent saturator. It clips the kicks just a little bit, and I like that sound. And then I have a Wolf compressor, basically with the default settings. And that was it. that was pretty much the master that I sent into Chill Hop. And this track went on to do 47 million streams. So very, very grateful for like the platform that I got. Really grateful for Dark Mind for sending me over this piano. And I'll leave you with the song. Thank you so much for watching this. Cool. I hope you enjoyed that. It was fun to make. It's fun to kind of dive back into some of those songs that I made like a long time ago. I feel like there's always stuff to learn from looking at your old project files, but I wanted to like kind of gauge interest on this. I want to start a Patreon and kind of share some of these like samples that I've used, or maybe like loops, and really just kind of give you some of the tools that I've used to like make these songs. I was thinking of putting the drum kit that I used for Interstellar up on Patreon. I think I'll make it just sort of like a one-time thing. I don't think you need to subscribe in order to sort of get some of these things. So I wanted to price it kind of low. If that's interesting to you, great. Like, let me know. If you don't really want me doing that stuff, like I'm all ears, but I do want to just sort of find ways that I can like give you guys some of the samples that I've used that I find inspiring. And I think Patreon might be a good platform to do it. Let me know if you have any other ideas, but I really appreciate you watching, and look out for more videos like this. And if you have any more requests, again, like leave it in the comments or DM me on Instagram. Anyway, thanks for watching. Bye.